Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut. Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut. Haishka. Kutahlam Sunasnat. Kutahlam Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut. Good afternoon, everybody. And thank you for being here. Thank you for being here on this beautiful day. We come here with one mind, one spirit, one from the heart, and we ask that we all engage in that with one spirit, one mind, and one heart. I want to acknowledge the elders, all of you elders here. Haishka, thank you for being here. We have to acknowledge the youth. They'll keep the story. They'll share the story. They'll share today. And it's their future that we need to think about when we leave this place, because things are happening on our watch, and I think that's why we're here today. Things are happening at a very fast pace on our watch. And we got to think about these youth and the future generations, and that is one of the great hopes from this moment today. Welcome everybody, thank you. Thank you for being here on behalf of what began several months ago, and I believe it was May that this day was planned as an installation ceremony for her. And this day was chosen, and thank you to the port. We started working with the port back in May. And the port accepted this permanent home for this special moment today. And they gave us a timeline, 21st through the 27th, for the installation ceremony to educate everybody and those who live here on island and everyone else on the significance of this and what this is. There was great support and conversation around it, and there was also some lack of understanding of what this is, what this was, what it's a symbol of, how many tens of thousands of hands and people have prayed on this across the country. Going first in 2018, Linda Mapes, Seattle Times, did a great job back then in 2018 of coverage of what was taking place when, and I think Nick Lewis will invite some others up to share a little bit of that history later on. But they covered when this was bare, when this was a tree. And they covered Jewel and the House of Tears carvers and the youth painting it and the youth helping bring this to life. They covered it well. And if you haven't read the article that came out, I believe August 19th, in the Seattle Times, she shared a video in the middle of that article where you can click on that, and it's a very brief history of Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut, Tokatai, Lolita. And she begins with the carving of this. And then it came to life. And then it traveled from Lummi to Miami, making numerous stops across the country, getting prayed on and telling her story. And in telling her story, the late Bill James, hereditary Chief Salik of Lummi Nation, who passed away in June 1st, 2020, as he put it, it's more than a story about one whale. And through that story, how do you and how do we hold conversation and talk about these truths when it's hard to find empathy or understanding, when Chief Sk'aliCh'tenaut would teach so well through example, and our elders teach so well that we are always last. Any creation story you go back to in Indian country, we're always last. Even if you go back to ancient scripture in the Bible, humans weren't first and then the sky and the moon and the sun. Humans are always last. But I think one of the greatest teachings from it, and it's one of the hardest things still today that many Lummies try to share, is what does relationship mean? It seems like the most common question. How can you have a relationship with Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut when they live under the water? So I think what he, Sk'aliCh'tenaut, wanted to do with you is how do you not? How do you not? It's hard to understand because we're only 6 generations removed post-treaty, pre-contact, here in the Northwest in San Juan. And for Lummi, we're only one hug away from pre-contact. So our relationship has always been with what you call nature. Land, air, and our kids, and we still hold on to that. And that's what was so important for him through this journey with Tokatai's story, was we need to invite you back and maybe examine and investigate where your relationship was severed from being one with and actually below everything that is. And when we decolonize our imagination for a moment and really allow ourselves to imagine what once was, imagine what a relationship was, deeply imagine the truth and reality of what we are doing to everything that is, then I believe the story that was so important with the story pole, Tokatai, Lolita, our story, everything that is being managed to extinction through this process that pales in comparison to what took 1,000 years to destroy in Europe, a few hundred years on the East Coast to drive Atlantic salmon to extinction, and everything that is. And now you're sitting in a place where it's happening on our watch. And how do we rise above the philosophies that came with, through policy making, through dominant and supreme and above everything that is, and we can manage everything to extinction as long as it benefits us? Can we go back to that? And that's one thing I took from years of Chief Sk'aliCh'tenaut leading the governing body of Lummi Nation, along with the elders, Auntie Shirley, and many others, guiding the young leadership, instructing them what to do, them holding the ceremonies that are quiet, that are secret, that are old, that are important. That, I think, for all of us and many of us, is what this gift is. And this journey to Miami, and then last year, she symbolizes salmon, she symbolizes struggle, she symbolizes hope, she symbolizes family, strength. But she also journeyed from the University of Oregon, beginning there, and then the mouth of the Columbia last year in May, and went up the Columbia, stopping at different places like Celilo Falls, where now Celilo Falls, you talk to Yakima, Nez Perce, who are present, and many others along the Columbia tributaries, Snake River. She opened up the ability to tell that story, and the fact that what was once a great river on this West Coast, we've turned to a lake for our own benefit. And everything that belongs, like Tokatai belonged here, Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut, but everything that belongs in that river, that takes care of us, you, the natives for thousands of years, it's at a point where we have to come together, we have to examine. And this went on that journey, all the way up to the Snake River, Nez Perce country, Yakima, Umatilla, and all the tribes up there who are struggling to create an empathy, attempting to depoliticize a moral issue, a treaty right issue, a treaty right that the Nez Perce, the Yakima, the Umatilla, the Lummi, the treaty tribes have with. It's really our only protection for salmon, as you can see through the Supreme Court cases. I think Lummi's had 8 victories in Supreme Court, but it's typically all around salmon. And it allowed the story, allowed the spirit, allowed all of you and everyone who touches it and everyone who attended these places to understand that a treaty isn't an Indian thing. Books and school systems might teach it's an old Indian thing. But what took place and what this has allowed the story to share and the truth to be told is that an immigrant sovereign came together with the true sovereigns of this land, an immigrant sovereign called the US, a newcomer. But they felt it was so important under their Constitution, under Article 6 of the United States Constitution, stating a treaty is the supreme law of the land. There's nothing above. It's the most important thing. And the immigrant came together with the true sovereigns of the land all across this country, including Lummi and many others, and along the Columbia, Nez Perce, Yakima. And as an immigrant, they entered into promises with one another, agreements with one another. And what she is allowed to share is a truth that it's been lopsided, big time. You've got roaring rivers that produce June hogs and 120-pound king salmon that fed these southern residents out of the Columbia that are on the brink of extinction. And while it's hard to make treaty rights an extreme priority because of what we learn in schools, I think what this allowed and what others opened up our minds to is it's your treaty too, every single one of you, non-Indigenous, because your forefathers came together with the true sovereigns of this land. And that's just a little bit of what you have here. You might hear some talk about authenticity, old artwork, but this story pole represents so much. What a gift. That's a little bit of the welcome, and on how this came together is just, to me, it's bigger than us. It happened perfectly, and what was supposed to be an installation ceremony to educate has now turned to a celebration of life and an installation ceremony and a time for us to come together. And I revisited that video that Linda and them did, and Jewel and the chief in there said she's coming home. And the chairman of Lummi will share a little bit about the reality of that fact that she's coming home. Maybe not the way we wanted her to come home, but she will be swimming with her family again. And in spirit, we're one who believes that everything has a spirit, especially these rocks, the water, everything's alive. And that gives us all hope. And that's why we're here today, because she is coming home. And her story will not be forgotten. So thank you for being here. And today will not just be an installation ceremony. Today it's gonna be a little bit more than that. And I'm so honored that my elders and my family and our singers and our youth and everyone who's supposed to be here is here. And some of the challenges of the ferry and getting boats out here, but we have lots of folks here, and I want to start to invite up Chester and family to, we're gonna open with song, and we're gonna share start with Chester and the family with one song. We're gonna invite Auntie Shirley to share a very important song after that, and then one song after that. But at this time, while they're coming up, I want to open this up properly. Going to call witnesses, and the witnesses will share, hold, and remember what is shared, what is felt, who was here. And it is in our culture. This is part of the work. So first, I want to call forward Chairman Wheeler. Chairman Wheeler, please come forward. Here. Hi, Chairman Wheeler, for agreeing to be a witness here today. All Lummies come forward. Here. Jode Gowdy. Calling you forward to witness the work. Yakima Nation. Haishka Jode. Deborah Lakanoff, calling you forward to witness the work. Haishka Deborah. Calling forward a youth. Damian Kemkoff, please come forward. Aishka for agreeing to witness the work.
Hi, Squall. It's good to be home. In 2007, we come together. You all folks have your national anthem. And us older ones got together in 2007, canoe journey to nomination, and created a national anthem of our own. It's bringing our culture and tradition, our religion back into school so we could teach our children that it's all right to be Indians now. It's all right to be Native. And we do it every Monday with our language teachers. First thing we do, blessing. It's called the flood song. But in that flood song, it's our creation. And it clears the path for all of us to travel on that journey. Just like we're doing here today. This song clears the way, not only for us, but whoever chooses to follow us in our footsteps. It's called the flood song.
Yes. afternoon, everyone. So happy to see everybody here. The song I'm going to sing is a family song. It's from my great-great-great-grandfather, Caitlin. The song is saying, look at me, Mr. White Man, this is who I am. Showing him like this. This is who I am. Bear with me. Real good time. When I got done singing to her, she turned around and she went and I sang the farewell song for her. And she looked at me. And she knew that we were getting ready to leave, that we spent 3 hours there at the tank with her. She looked at me like that and she went and swam around. The last time I sang to her, the last time I seen her, she seen me and I haven't seen her for a while. And when I sang to her, she did the same thing, but she went out in a real tank like that. And she went down, and she came up, she went up in the air like that, and she splashed, and she got me all wet. And she comes and looks at me. I said, look what you did to me. It was really hot, it was 90 degrees. And I said, look what you did to me, you got me all wet. And she looks at me like that, and she turns around and and the caretaker said she knew you, she knows the connection between you and her, and she was happy to see you and hear you sing to her. The very time I went, I sang to her. And I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss that. That's the first song I sang to her when I see her.
Hi, Ska. Hi, Ska. Hi, Ska. Thank you for the songs. calling upon our brother Joe Day from Yakima Nation, tribal member, to share a song as we get started here.
Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut, everybody stand back up. All recorders are off. All recorders off.
Please, no cameras, please. We are all witnesses here today. We called forward 4 witnesses, Haishka, for answering the call. At this time, I want to call forward my chairman, Chairman Hilaire from the Lummi Nation, to share with you a little bit, take a little bit of time, and really appreciate his presence, appreciate Lummi's leadership. Chairman Tony Hilaire.
Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut, Tony Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut, Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut, Chuck Lummison, Nukchisan Makwalia, Quanas, and Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut. Good day, my dear friends and relatives. My name is Tony Hilaire. My name is Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut. I come from Lummi, and I'd like to thank you all for being here on this day. I'm the chairman of the Lummi Indian Business Council on behalf of the Lummi Nation. Thank you all for taking the time out of your day to be here with us. Thank you to our elders, our aunties, and our uncles that are here. Thank you to Cecilia and their board and all of the ones who took part in making this day possible. Thank you to our tribal leaders, our witnesses that are here, our state legislation and representatives. Really beautiful to see you all coming together with one heart and one mind as we have it on our hearts to pay our respects and love for Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut. And that's why we're here today. I'm here with my Lummi Indian Business Council, Nick Lewis and Jim Washington, as well as our youth council, Damian Kampkoff, who's called as a witness today, Talon Paul and Madeline Bob, are all here traveling from Lummi Nation to be here. They're our next generation of leadership, and we do everything we can to prepare them for this fight, prepare them for this work, prepare them for this much needed time of leadership and bringing people together. And we cannot thank them enough for being here. It's been a lot the last couple of weeks. There's a couple of things I wanted to share that's on my heart and mind. First is that Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut is coming home. And even though the circumstances aren't exactly what we wanted as a nation, as a people, as those whose heart and soul has been in this work, has been with her throughout her entire journey, nevertheless, she is still coming home. And under the direction of our elders and cultural leaders, that date will be set at another time, but wanted to let you all know that there will be a homecoming. There will be some time for us to come together again to pay our respects. And I also wanted to just mention that we've been feeling it with all of you, this sense of confusion of what happened and how did it happen, and wanting these answers and so many questions that we've had. And we need to set that aside, my dear people. We need to set aside that anger and frustration on our hearts, because she deserves much, much more than that. She represents much, much more than the bad things that happened to her. My Auntie Shirley and Auntie Raynell Morris are still in Miami now. I wanted to mention them. You know, our mothers and our grandmothers never wanted our children to be taken away from us. Our ancestors never wanted the atrocities to happen to us, for our land to be taken, for our children to be taken, for these ongoing threats to our sovereignty, to take away our language, to take away our culture. They never wanted that for us. And so they made us strong. They made us resilient. They made us fearless. And we are never going to stop. And you see it in these children that were up here dancing and singing, that we are never going away. And that's the message today, is that we're still here, and we're still going to keep fighting for everything that we call home, everything that is ours. And even though, you know, there's a lot of hurt hearts, we don't want your sympathy. We don't want anybody to feel sorry for us. We want your empathy. We want you to understand who we are and where we come from. We want your children to understand these children that were up here at the front stage. We want them to grow up knowing each other. And before we can truly heal as a people, we have to acknowledge the true history of this place that we all call home. We have to look at, we have to be able to look at each other without disgrace, without disgust, without hurt, and we have to build something much better for these next generations. And we're really thankful that everybody is here with us, but action will be needed at some point. The fight will continue, and she is just one of the greatest leaders that we have ever seen. And great leaders do the hardest thing possible, and they bring people together, and they change the hearts of the world so that we can be together to create something beautiful, to create a place that is much more beautiful than when we found it. And she continues to do that for us today. And so even though there's so much work to do, even though action is needed, even though we need answers, even though we're angry and frustrated and confused, she's bringing us together today. And we cannot thank her for her leadership enough. We're grateful for this time together. We're grateful for this opportunity to take one step towards understanding each other and understanding this place that is so important to us, and understanding the connection that we have to each other, the connection that we have to the ones that fly, the ones that swim, the ones on this land. That's why it's so important to us. And in that teaching, we have learned that they have always taken care of us as human beings. And so we carry a responsibility to make sure that we're also taking care of them. And she's continuing to lead us and ask us this question: what are we going to do? How are we going to change? What do we want to be as a people? How are we going to be? What are we going to do within ourselves to be better? How can we be better? And so keep asking yourself that, keep asking each other, and one day we're going to look around and we're going to see a much better place here at home. We're going to see the salmon swimming. We're going to see our orca relatives swimming. We're going to see this land just as our ancestors saw it. And so thank you all for taking the time, for those that traveled from afar, whose heart is here with us. Again, we don't want your sympathy, we want understanding, and we're thankful that we have this first step today in coming together. Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut. Thank you. I want to call forward Nick Lewis and Jim Washington. They're on our Lummi Indian Business Council. Please come forward. And actually, can we get our youth council to come up here too? I want you to introduce yourselves. I forgot to mention, we've been working on this, bringing her home for quite some time. The leadership of those like Auntie Shirley and Raynell Morris, those involved with the Cecilia board, it's Jewel James, there's Fred Lane, so many people who took on the fight, and outside of the Lummi Nation government, who were relentless to get us to this place, and we cannot thank them enough. And I wanted to also mention that in 2017, the Lummi Indian Business Council motioned to bring her home, and that was Councilman Nick Lewis here, who will have speak next. And today is also about direction. The instructions that are left behind from our elders and our ancestors, the ones who know the way and show us the way. And so we're thankful for all of our leadership, and want to hand it over to them now to introduce themselves and say a few words. Haishka.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I just want to say,
to each and every one of you that have traveled, no matter where you come from. You came here with one heart and one mind, and that is to celebrate our loved one, and I want to thank you for being here. There's a million places that you can be, but you chose to be here with one another for this reason, and I thank you. I recognize you, I see your faces, and it means a lot to be able to see that when I look out. As the chairman said, my name is Nicholas Lewis. My traditional name is Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut, and I do have the honor to serve on our council with some amazing leaders today. But I also want to say our past leaders who I've served with before, Jay, Fred, Happy, many others. But in order to really talk about this part, I need to call Doug up. Yeah. Kurt Russo, I seen you here. Hey, come here. Howard, have you come up?
Peace.
When we do the work that we're doing, the Creator has a pathway and a reason for each and every one that's involved, whether it's small or bigger. We are all a part of this work. And when it came to be discussed and to talked about, it was Doug that brought it to me. And I can't share anything without having Doug share his little bit. And then it brought it to Kurt and our team, Jewel, Fred, Jay. The first person I reached out to after Doug brought this to me was Howard. And I think in order to tell this part of the story, I can't say their words for them. I want to ask if I can ask them to share a few words on that part. It's what you helped start. Look at everybody here. Look at everybody across the world. That was what our chairman said, and her being a great leader. She brought everyone together. And while this part of the story isn't the way we wanted it to be, the work is not done. The work shifts to action to protect her family that's still here. That's where we need each and every one of you. So I want to ask my friends, my brothers, to share a part of this story. I think it's theirs to rightfully tell.
Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut. First of all, I'd like to thank the Creator for opening up the way for us to be here where we're at here today. This goes back to 2018. We were on a journey across country with a totem pole that was going to go to the Turtle Lodge people up in Winnipeg. But on the way to there, we stopped in Seattle and had a gathering at St. Mark's Cathedral. From there, we went to Portland and had another gathering at St. Paul's Cathedral in Portland. When we're finishing up that evening there, my brother Susiath and I encountered a lady that came from Vancouver, Washington. And she was saying, I was looking for Jewel James. He gets a call for a radio interview at that very moment. And he says, well, you're talking to my brother. And said, okay, let's go sit down. He says, what's your name? She said, my name is Jennifer. And he says, okay, we probably got 15 minutes before we got to depart. And so she started relaying to me from that moment that she was a receiver of messages and dreams. She was living on the San Juan Island in 2016. And she says, I received a message from a young girl in New York, a 14-year-old Down syndrome girl. And said this girl has been receiving this message from an orca out of the Miami aquarium. Over and over, the message kept coming to her. She's crying out, is anybody out there that can hear me? Anybody out there that can hear me? I want to go home. I want to go home. Anybody help me go home? That message just kept coming. And she carried this message that I left San Juan Island and moved to Vancouver, Washington. And he said, I carried this message for 2 years. I'm a non-native. Who do you give such a message to? He says, I heard that Lummi was here in Portland, and I thought maybe we can come to you and see if you can do anything for this whale or not. You know, I told her, you know, Jennifer, I don't know if we can do anything or not. We're on this journey, and we're heading for Standing Rock, and then we're going to Winnipeg. But I don't know if we can do anything, but let's put it to prayer and see where it goes. And we did. I look around and I can see where it went. I looked around and seen how the Creator could use such a being, such as the Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut, that she can have such an impact on so many. And all she wanted to do was come home. She wanted to come back home to her family. So this whole thing unraveled. One vision, one message after another that she kept relaying to us. And to where we kept reaching forward with these messages, like the information that was given to us that she accumulated in 2 years is what I handed Nick, because he was the new one on the council. And I had told Nick, it says, read this over very carefully and do not drop this, because this is bigger than all of us. This is a spiritual movement, and it is. It hasn't stopped. With the gathering of the orcas that were out here the very day she died was a testimony of the spirituality of it all. It's real. The spirit is still here. She came home, not physically, but spiritually. You know, and so this is one of the Creator's creations, and their spirits are very, very much alive, and they still go on. It's like each and every one of you. You all have a destiny. You all will take that spiritual walk at one time or another. What you do with that walk while you're still here, and what you're going to leave behind for the next 7 generations, is up to you. Each and every one of you that are present here today, you've got a voice, you got a pen, write it down, make it listen to those that are on the other side of this country, that we are still here. We are still fighting for the rights of those that don't have a voice. Those that are living in these waters, our relatives that live under the sea, are still here. They still cry for their babies. They still cry for their families. They gather in a spiritual moment, as we witnessed here a few days back. So to the elders, make your voices be heard. For these little ones you see sitting around us here, it's for those that we have to make a commitment to. I just want to thank the Creator once again for allowing us a breath of time to come together with one heart and one mind. Osea.
My voice is a little smoky. My lounge voice. I've had the honor to work with these amazing people since 1978. And I can say this, they know a lot about nature. They know a lot about what Jay Julius calls an ancient love affair with nature. I was talking to Councilman Lewis, and I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough for making that motion. And Doug, tireless warrior. Jay, one of the great leaders. Tony, the new leader. Howard, fearless, totally fearless. But I want to mention one thing about Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut. Sk'aliCh'el is the name of her family, southern residents. Sk'aliCh'el was a Lummi village in Penn Cove, where that capture took place in 1907. She was given this name. T'naut means daughter. I was told to let her know she's welcome to come back now. It's safe. I want to close with a moment at Miami Seaquarium. You all know Fred. Fred, can you struggle to your feet? Fred Lane. Fred Lane and I were at Miami Seaquarium together, and I saw this with my own eyes. She was in the tank, and he was singing a song, and I saw her do a 180. She came right up to him, and she put her head out of the water, and he sang to her, and she vibrated. I saw that with my own eyes. The Lakhtamish people, the Lummies, they know something really important about deep relationality. Really important, that is unique, grew out of this land, didn't come here from Europe, grew out of this land. One last thing. What a great day. Look at this. So those of you who trace your ancestry to Europe, myself included, any part of Europe except Scandinavia, the spirit in you comes from a very ancient world that was deeply tribal. Everyone here is tribal. Now it got a little blocked by something, but it's still there. I think that's why when you hear these amazing voices, something sings in your heart. It's your tribalism.
I am deeply humbled and honored and grateful to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you for passing that resolution, Nicholas and the council. Thank you for having me at this sacred moment. This is so beautiful. My dear departed brother Ken Balcom told me about Tokitai. I didn't know much. I knew she shouldn't be there. He had faith in her. He believed in her. He was confident that she could come home and she would be relieved and happy and feel at home. It would be her familiar waters and her family, that she was fully capable of that safely. Against all the headwinds of all the myth-making by the vested interests who say, oh no, don't let her go home. It would be a terrible experiment. We won't do that. But we knew just because she was a Southern resident, still is. So we knew her family. They didn't know her family. Family is so important. But over the years, Toki has become a teacher to me, a mentor and a leader. I've learned so much from her about courage, about patience, about graciousness, about compassion. She never wavered. And I'm seeing here far more than I ever knew how she affected so many and so deeply to feel such deep sorrow and such an honor to her. She is still here, and she is still a Southern resident. She is in her family, and they did come here Thursday and Friday to be here for her when she came back. They weren't here on business. They weren't here foraging. They weren't here for the usual spread out, seek in every nook and cranny for the last fish. They were here to be together in her honor. I saw it. I just want to thank everyone here and all my lovely friends for having me here. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Before I turn the mic over to my fellow tribal leader, Jim, just want to say in this work, one thing that I've learned, it might be one person, might be two, it might be a small group, but you're fighting for something that's bigger than each and every one of us as well. Don't ever give up in fighting for what's right. Continue working with those that are fighting for what's right, because our family is still struggling. We need to fight for the environment. We need to fight for the salmon, because we don't want another sad story in this book. The story's going to end positive. We have to keep that in mind and in our heart. She brought each and every one of us together for a reason. You're all part of that reason. Don't ever give up fighting for what's right. To our tribal leaders, again, Jay, Fred, that have been there since this came. Doug, Jewel, Samuel, thank you for all the work that nobody has seen behind the scenes. All the blood, sweat, and tears in helping keep this story going. Mom Shirley, Renell, Ellie, those that took on the fight, even more so, thank you for following your heart. You let her know that she was loved and she wasn't forgotten. Each time you went and sang to her and she came to you, that's a gift. And in this work together, Doug said, the message was always, I want to come home. And I'm thankful with each and every one of you and our past leaders that we are going to bring her home, as our chairman said. We're going to honor those wishes. And she will be swimming with her loved ones, her mother, once more in the near future. Thank you for being a part of this work. Aishka.
Well, see, once again, my brothers, Sussiat, Jewel James, he tried making it here this morning. He broke down on the freeway, but he wanted to let all of you know, that his spirit's with you, and his hands are up to each and every one of you that has played a role of dedicating and putting all this into film and radio and TV and recording this, because it has to continue to move on to reach out and touch the hearts and souls and spirits of each and every one, So on behalf of my brother, Sussiat, I want to thank you. Osia.
Osia, Messiah, your friends and relatives,
Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut. That name comes from right here in San Juan Island. It's my grandfather. I appreciate all the people showing their concern and honoring this totem. I want to thank all the folks that are involved with Cornish, the whale, and your concern in trying to get her home. This is not about a money or a value object. And these are the things that are taught to us, and it's what we try to teach our young children, that there's a value in life. It's not about just having a home, just having a car, having money. And a lot of us share these same feelings about our children. You know, we want more for them than we had. And so I've been praying about this and thinking about this a lot, about the whole situation with this whale. And how do I relate to this? What's happening? Trying to understand what she means to me, what happened, what's going on. And all I can think of is she's our elder. They're our elders. That's all that comes to my heart and mind is they showed us the way. They taught us how to hunt. They taught us how to travel these waters. This is our people's highway right here, this water. We didn't have cars. They showed us how to stay together, how to be family. And it is like Jay says, they were showing us the way. They are our elders. They taught us. But still trying to relate to what's happening and what's going on with our people. What's going on with our land, what's going on with our waters, the things that are very, very valuable to our existence. She wasn't well, and it showed us she didn't make it. In a sense, our people aren't well in a lot of ways. And that's what's going to happen to us if we don't start caring. Start showing, start living, start being an example. Our waters are getting way over polluted. Our land is on fire everywhere around us. And you can't tell us it's lightning. Lightning is not creating this many fires. It's our own ignorance. We have to do better. But I really appreciate all the concern that the folks have. We're saying that, OCM the CIA, you're being recognized at this time, my friends and relatives. You become important at this time. We're raising our hands to you, to the Creator, to hold each other up. That's what that means. And we want our kids to know some of this stuff, our children to know it. We want them to know it. We don't just say it to be saying it. We want them to know this. And it's telling us we need to take care of ourselves. Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut.
Now to Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut, Davey Kamkoff, son of Snat, Chuck Lumison, Gloria Turner, son of Tan, Edward Kamkoff, son of Man, Nukchisa Makwalia, Quinason Atachel, Natia Kaius. Hello, my friends and relatives. My name is Davey Kamkoff, and I am from Lummi. My mom is Gloria Turner, and my dad is Edward Kamkoff. I'd just like to thank you all for being here today. It's a nice day today. It's celebration of life. Love to love. That's how I live now. But it was never always like that. I was kind of what most people would call a res kid. So I kind of hated a lot of things, but you know, I did have a roof to live under, a bed to sleep on, but I did not feel home until I got close with the culture, close with my people. My people are my home, our people are the home. And similarly, she is coming home. So, love to love. I love all you guys equally. I don't think of myself as better than anybody. ACM.
Hi, I'm Maddie, and I'm a Clummies Council member.
CM, Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut CM, Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut Talon Paul, son of Snat, Chuck Lumison. My name is Talon Paul, and I'm on the Lummi Youth Council. I want to thank you all for being here today. I wanted to share just a few words. I see the weight that everyone carries in their heavy hearts. And I'm grateful that everyone came here today to help honor our relative. And I'm also thankful for the Lummi Indian Business Council and for bringing us along and teaching us. My father, he told me when I was very young that, you know, one day it's going to be you, and I never believed him until now. So, I'm just grateful to have the advice from our elders and the guidance and the teachings. You know, my grandma, she always told me, it is your duty to protect these ways and these teachings and to carry them and pass them on. And I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to do that here today. Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut.
One more? Go ahead, Jake. Go ahead, Jake.
Just wanted to make one other comment. You know, one of the things that mentioned is people that are fighting the good fights, that are doing what's in their heart. I want to recognize Shirley and Troy for all the work that they do out here and the daughter that they raised. It's something that wanted to be shared, and I think asking Sadie to share it with each and every one of us would be more appropriate. If I can call on you, Sadie, to share that message.
Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut, Kwasomat, Sinasnat, Sahanap Husmeens, Anaman, Kusamat, Sinatan, Sally Jack Herman Olson, Sinasosila, Karen Virgil Williams, Sinasosila, Chuck Flemison, Dewamishson, Sanichson, Samiyamason, Soitsen Ohilok, Quenis Atiak Arias, Nuchchisen, Mapalia, Quenis Anatachel, Nistli, Quenis Qual, Aquino Squall, Outsen, Chitza, Flamichasen, Utatasen, Quenis Twinout, Haishka, Maqualia, to Asha on, at Tango. Anat T-Wheel, Anat T-Wheel, to Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut. I would just like to mention that and speak on my parents' behalf. As we co-founded White Swan Environmental, we've also worked with the carver of this story pole. So there is another story pole over on Papiawas, and it helps to share our story of the chief and the female chief of the salmon. And those salmon are our relatives, and those salmon are the food sources for the Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut. And so the salmon people are coming home. The salmon people are returning. Ashka for coming, and thank you for the space and time.
I believe Howard wanted to mention one last closing comment before we turn it back over to Jay.
Well, only that we all know that Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut loved her family and loves her family and knows her family needs more Chinook, more salmon. And there's no shortage of messages here to free the Snake River. But I want to say that we have a representative here. Christina Moulet is ready with cards to send to the White House, and it is imperative that they be sent by the end of this month to allow the time to reach those dams starting at the end of this year. She has a FedEx package ready to go to the White House. So her table is over there. She's here now, but she will get your message to the White House. Thank you.
Aishka, thank you. Man, I love my leadership. I love Lummi Nation leadership. The authenticity in leadership from Lummi Nation, for me, goes back to a court case started in 1895, 1905, Alaska Packers. You look at the testimony of the old reef net fishermen talking about this place, the reef nets and the traps coming in. And that willingness to fight, as Chairman Hilaire and other leadership said, has not left. And their leadership as a governing, new constitutional governing body has always been that. And I'm so proud of them. I love my historical leadership, the ancestors who led us to here, but taught the leadership by example. Thank you. You notice they don't mention anything about economics. They don't mention the fact that they're first, second, third largest employer. And rarely will you ever hear that. And that's who they are. It's salmon. It's what they talked about before. So Leadership, thank you for being Lummi. Thank you for being great leaders. Elders, thank you. And it's the grandmother. Shirley was my Head Start teacher long time ago, and she's always been a grandmother, motherly figures. And that's our aunts, and they're our teachers. They're our guides, and our teachers that develop the leadership to where they are. At this time, we're going to share Tokatai's last song, last sounds. And we're also going to share her family's sounds here in the islands, or the day of her passing. But we're going to, while we're getting that ready, going to call some youth forward to share a little poem while we get these started, or get this. Tasia, this is my daughter Tasia Julius Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut, and this is my son Sequoia Julius Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut. And they're going to bring up some youth, or right here, and they're going to share a quick poem.
Hello, my name is Asher. My name is Izzy. This poem is Spirit, Love, Home. I am the spirit of family and community. Look around you.
I am the spirit of salmon. This is how we live on.
I am the spirit of struggle. The newcomers just don't know or understand. I am the spirit of perseverance. You and I never gave up. I'm the spirit of forgiveness, but let's not forget. I'm the spirit of healing. See the truth in our story. I'm the spirit of love. Continue to fight for our existence. I am the spirit of the water. The water is my giver of life, and the Salish Sea is our home. I am the spirit of family. Let's all come together as one. I'm the spirit of hope. I am home, despite all odds. I am Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut, Tokatai Lolita. I am keeper of the spirit.
Okay, first you're going to hear the sound of L12 subpod. The L12s they were at Lime Kiln the day that Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut died. So we're going to play about 40 seconds of that, and then about 20 seconds of just the sounds of Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut recorded in air over the last few months.
At the request of Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut, a good idea, a thought. Can we have 56? Was she 56? How old was she? 57. Can we have 57 seconds of silence? And then Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut, we'd like to call you forward. Al Scott. Thank you. Al? Is Al? Al Scott Johnny? Al Scott Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut is the cultural director of the Lummi Nation. Calling him forward to share a bit. Want to acknowledge the late Uncle Smitty as well. He was Uncle Smitty Hilaire was a former cultural department director who was just a great warrior and keeper of the old ways and stood with leadership around salmon and the natural world. That's the way to
Siam Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut, Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut, the tunnel Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut, the stelnep Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut, Boxingen, that Hatchel Siam, the Pashlamachins, the seats, it's the stelneps, that's Pachnin. So just a few words to thank each and every one that is here, especially the Tla'achtamish in the sense of our homelands, our territory, our tunnel. And that we believe that the Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut, which is the animal people that were here before us, are our Shayeth, our older sibling. So in that we have this Chal, this belief system that we have in relationship to the Pashlamach'tin and the orca whales. We don't call them the killer whales. We call them the orca whales for a common phrase and understanding. We believe that this ancient village area, the Boxingen, is where we're at in this area, and that the orca whale, as some people call them, the killer whale, that has been in this area from time immemorial. Passage through here, so this is a celebration, an understanding, an acknowledgement, even though this has been planned for some time for this story pole to be placed by our relatives that did the work, to be able to commemorate the spirit of the orca whale and that the significance it has to the waterways and to the land and the many things that attach both the water and the land together in a good way. So the practices in the past was able to bring forward our collectiveness. And what folks call collaborate. We heard some of the words, hope the witnesses are here, the words that are being shared here today from the Skla'ch'tenaut. The Skla'ch'tenaut are the 44 original people. And then we have the variety of 44 tribes. The Skla'ch'tenaut is the ancestors to the Palami people. And as we were moved from our stelneps, or ancient grounds and our sites, that we began to move to where we live now. And with that, we still remember. We still remember because we have celebrations, we have gatherings, we have, just as these pods, they go in as a family. And the Skla'ch'tenaut, 44 original people, are a family. And that many of the ancestors spread out in terms of our territories, and then contact time, and then they gathered into the construct of treaties to put them on reservations. And much like our Shayeth, the orca that has passed is confined to a small area, and yet was able to sing her song in a good way, believe in that the ones that knew her prior to her capture, that would hear her. Now it's a little different, but nonetheless we want to thank each and every one of you for being here today and our wonderful gathering. A good time, in a sense, to be able to meet the communities. Our two communities come together in a good way, and we have Aishka to the ones that organized and put this together. Siyam, Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut. Aishka Siyam. Please, Siyam.
Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut, Aishka. Thank you. Osi. I'm going to share a gift that was shared with us for folks who came up. I want to acknowledge Stephen Gordon with the hat on here. Thank you, Stephen. He shared this box with me this morning, and it's full of old feathers. And Stephen, thank you. I'm going to share it with the folks here that are part of this and the witnesses. Aishka, for that gift that was gifted to you. Aishka. Next, we want to call up Todd Nicholson from the Port of Friday Harbor, Executive Director of the Port of Friday Harbor. Todd Nicholson, are you here?
Yes, Jay.
All right. Todd has been so great to work with. And, it's been a pleasure working with you. Todd Nicholson.
Yeah, welcome. I had intended on talking a little bit about the story, but after hearing other people tell the story better than I ever could and providing better context, thought I would just start with or finish with simple gratitude. Thank you to the Lummi Nation for leadership over decades. Thank you to Jay and others who have worked with me in friendship and allowed us to provide collaboration and respect on doing something good for the community. And thank you for allowing the port the opportunity to provide a permanent home to the manifestation of one part of an important story that will be ongoing. So again, thank you to the Lummi Nation, thank you to the community, thank you, Jay.
Thank you to the port, thank you to the commission, thank you to your staff and team for making this happen. Thank you enough, and it's always great to work with you and Haishka. Just a little token of Haishka, thank you. Fiorella has been a friend of the Southern residents, an advocate, a warrior, just so, for me, just a great example of encouragement for our future. And you've done so much for us. And she did a calendar, right? Yeah, and I still have one. I have one down at my shop here. And thank you for that. So we want to like to ask you to share a bit, and we are so thankful for you. Haishka.
Tokite has finally returned home. I never met Tokite in person, but in my heart, I felt close to her. Learning how she was taken away long ago made me long for the day she would swim free again. Years back, hearing Tokite's story, I said, someday Tokite will swim in these waters, and that day has finally come at last. Tokite is back with her family in spirit, calling to her mother. About 2 years ago, I do Tokite's reunion right here, where she is showing her joyful tear in her eye and her return to her family in native waters. Tokite endured so much, but stayed strong. She reminds us orcas don't belong to us. They belong here, wild and free, like their ancestors were. Tokite is gone, but her memory can inspire us to safeguard the endangered southern residents and the salmon they rely on. If we open our hearts to really listen to them, we can honor Tokite, or Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut. Though it is a sad moment, I know Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut is finally at peace. Let her strong spirit forever swim the waters of her home. Thank you.
And the paint, you want to share anything regarding the painting? Oh, this, yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Haishka. Thank you, cooks. Thank you to all the cooks and all the volunteers who set up the chairs and made all this possible. Thank you. There's so many of you. At this time, we're going to move on to, I guess, the reason this was planned out long ago. We're going to move forward with a song from, which was going to be Doug, Jewel, but as Doug stated, he's didn't make it. So we're going to call forward Doug, House of Tears Carvers, Cielza, April, Pink Bonner, and we are going to move forward to the ceremony of the story pole, which you've heard a lot about, and a lot of the history about, but now I'd like to call forward House of Tears Carvers, April. Following this, Following this moment, we're going to hear from the witnesses. They're going to share, and then we will eat after that.
Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut, Instalas, Siamowit, Sokerup, Yusim. Sayalta. The song we'd like to share with you came to us back in the 90s when we had a minke whale beach herself upon our shores. My brother was one of the Jules was one of the ones that was first there. They watched this whale struggling as the tide was going out, and there was about 10, 15 of them tried pushing the whale out. Sheriffs came, Coast Guard came saying, do not touch the whale, you will be arrested if you touch the whale. My brother says, whose law is higher than theirs? You know, so they said, we're going to move that whale. And so they tried. They tried moving that whale. They got about maybe 15, 20 feet, and the tide went out too far. And as that whale was breathing her last, her last few heartbeats, we all heard this song come from her. And it was right at her last heartbeat we heard this song. And this song means to be of one heart and one mind. And it's called the Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut. We use this song all across this country. Starting out with 9/11. That was the healing pole journey, the first journey we went across this United States with. So we sang that song all the way across, calling people to come. Lay your hand upon this pole and let your cry go here, and send a prayer across country for those that died and those that were left behind. And it worked. It drew people together. It drew people to come together with one heart, one mind, and to let that cry go. Same thing had happened with Shanksville, Flight 93. So what about them that sacrificed their life? We did the same thing and done a poll for Shanksville and brought it right to the crash site. It did the same thing. It drew people together to pray together and to let their cry go. Third year said, well, what about the Pentagon? So we did a three-piece pole for the Pentagon. 2 12-foot uprights with a 20-foot crosspiece, double-headed eagle. Put it on a flatbed 40-foot truck, brought it across country, and it did the same thing. We stood that one in the Congressional Cemetery. These are gifts just to reach out to people and to lift them up, to help them at a devastating time in our country. The Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut. wherever we are, wherever you go, there's no limit that prayer can't reach. Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut showed us this. When we were down in Miami for the third time, we had a lady fly in from Houston, Texas, and come and found us. Said, I had to come. I had to come. This whale kept crying out to me over and over. Anybody out there can hear me. I want to go home. I want to go home. Anybody help me go home? And this lady said, I didn't know what to do. I had to come. I had to find you guys. I had to tell you this whale wants to go home. So she's been reaching out to a multitude of people out there that have been picking up on this message. Over and over, we had people come to us and tell us about this whale crying out. So it's that be of one heart mind that these whales are telling us. These beings, if we can't do that as human beings the way they do it, then why are we even here? Why are you here today? You're here because you're here of one heart and one mind. There's a reason you had a tugging on your heart today. There's a reason you came across this country. There's a reason you wanted to be present here today. Because the Spirit is moving throughout all Turtle Island. God bless you all. Thank you.
Once again, I want to thank the House of Tears carvers, Doug and Jewel, and I knew many of Doug's brothers and Jewel's brothers, Joel, but especially Dale. Dale carved me something when I was a little kid, and they were called the River Rats. My father and my father's mother and Doug and Jewel's mother were sisters on the Jefferson side. And going back to, I just got something from the Department of Interior regarding my land that they still control today that I really don't know a lot about, but it gets leased out. Anyway, I look at it often, and it goes back to an individual who signed the treaty as I look at all the names and how this land was passed down to me undivided. And we share that bloodline very close with my father. But I like to go back to a moment that impacted all of you and all of us, 9/11, and what Jewel and Doug and House of Tears carvers did back then is similar. And when you have over 20 different situations across this country and creating a voice and laying hands on these story poles for prayer, one was, or a couple were for 9/11. I remember seeing that first one, and it was a giant 3 different poles, like an arch. And then one to the Pentagon, and one to the other location where the plane went down. And then they continue after that, and I'm not going to go deep or long into that, but I want to acknowledge their work, their calling, and how they bring us together in such a good way. And I just want to take this time to recognize that and recognize the story behind this pole. Thank you, Todd. Kyle, thank you for the foundation. Thank you to the port staff and team. And I want to thank the troops, also the Boy Scouts, for helping with parking. And there's so many that need to be thanked here, but House of Tears Carvers, thank you for what you do. Jewel is not here right now, but so thankful for what he does for everyone in the story, and we'll never have a leader like Jewel again, ever. He is a one of a kind. Doug is a one of a kind. Everyone is a one of a kind, and filling their boots is not something any of us can ever do. Filling our own boots is something we look to achieve and strive to be through their leadership by example. But they're such great warriors for the English word environment, for the English word salmon, for the English word orca. To them, it's more than that. It's more than just English words. It's relationship. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here during this time. Thank you for coming together as family, as community, as Mr. Joseph. Thank you for being here. So at this time, I'm gonna call forward the witnesses, and I'm gonna start with the youth, and then from there, I'll call forward Deborah and Mr. Kemkoff. You want to come forward and share what you have witnessed here today? Aishka.
You too. What I have witnessed here today is a lot of love and a lot of gratitude and yeah.
Thank you, Watatlam. My Slicket name is Hikchasi. I come from a small community in Southeast Alaska. When the tide is up, dinner at the table's set. I serve in the 40th Legislative District. I came during a time when salmon was at the very bottom and not even a priority for Washington State. We can see now with the losses how deeply that impacts us every day. For generations, we have watched the depletion of our salmon stretching from where my brother's homelands come from through the Salish Sea, up through Southeast Alaska, down through the California state. We're the next in line, as I learned from my good friend. We as the people who look like me and sound like me are the next in line for extinction, and who will we be as the first Americans, the first Washingtonians, the first Alaskans, the first people? Where will you all be without us? The loss of her, the loss to the killer whale is just one beginning of many generations that's been lost before us. First and foremost, I'm a mom, and I'm the generation carrier just as she is, and just as she was. It's my responsibility to be here and stand before each and every one of you to understand that I'm in the homelands of the traditional people. These are the homelands of the loving people, where their bloodlines, their grandfathers, their aunties, their elders, the bloodlines have come for generations, where the salmon come from. It's my role, my responsibility as a generation giver to carry the teachings that I have here today as a witness, to carry it forward so my daughters, granddaughters, granddaughter will remember the words that are heard here today. I carry this responsibility with all my heart and all my love. Thank you to Lummi Nation for loving me as much as you have. This poor lost little Slicket girl would never know where to get her salmon, where to get her clams, where to get her deer meat, where to get her elk meat, if it wasn't for the Coast Salish people that stretch far, far beyond these homelands. So thank you so very much. We have a lot of work to do. Salmon needs to rise as the very top priority for the Northwest. It's at the very bottom. And I can't do this without you.
Nechpachwai, Ninaimo. Wanakshash Chaikwach. And a coachy cook Nayaku Shanak Panitash Papatak, but Nami Wanatash, Ach, and wit Wanatash. My name is Chaikwach. I'm also known as Jode Gaudi, and I come from Yakima. But specifically, my people, my ancestors come from the Enchiwana, from a place that everybody else knows as the Columbia River. And as I've come here today to bear witness, and be called upon and honored to bear witness in this way, I think about that expression, celebration of life, as it was brought out. And I try to be mindful of my thoughts. How is that celebration manifest in reality as we understand it? How is it that the spirit of transition, or the spirit of death, or the spirit of absence, how is it that we can take that spirit to honor and manifest a better presence? How is that? I bared witness to the youth, to the young ones, the teenagers, to the men and the women, and our beautiful elders gathered here. I bared witness to those who are called upon to act in capacities, assuming identities of leadership, of advocacy, navigating a practical world of how things manifest. As I bared witness to all of these things, those of you who have perhaps heard me speak before or know me a little bit, you know I'm a great advocate of identity. There are 6 questions I ponder quite often, and there are 6 questions I like to share with other people. First question is, who are you? Who are you? The second question is, where do you come from? The third question is, where are you going? The fourth question is, what is? The fifth question is, what isn't? And the sixth question is, why? Why? It's my belief and my thoughts, and it's been the expressions of my ancestors, my elders who have brought me along in life. Utilize these questions to have a better understanding of your individual awareness, who you are and where you come from. These things become the foundation of an understanding of where you wish to go. They also become the platform and the foundation of your understanding of that which is in reality and that which isn't. And perhaps all those 5 questions, they formulate a thought process and understanding to navigate the deeper questions of why. So as a witness this day, these questions I think have been asked to each of you in various ways from the various speakers. And they are questions that you should spend time to think about. It's only in understanding who you are as an individual that you're going to be able to understand somebody else. And as you think about that celebration of life that's occurring, and the expression, and the lifting up, and the recognition of life, what that means for you as you interrelate and answering those questions. Because people always ask me, well, you're always asking these 6 questions. So I'm not asking them to hear your answers. I don't want to hear your answers. I want you to hear your own answers. I want you to hear your own answers. In today's time, the peoples of this territory, of this land, the Lummi Nation and their peoples, their collective way of life in their walk, as you had heard expressed. There is something of a deeper relationship with the surroundings and the natural world, with the water, with the land, with the air. And it was expressed to each of us that our animal relatives, they came here to this place before we did. At Yakima, we share the same creation stories and the expressions in many ways. That's true. Our animal relatives were here before. And they worked together with one another and the other natural things of the world to prepare this place for the coming of the Tanun, the Nutty type, the native peoples of this land. So as you go through, no matter who you are, whether you're Lummi, whether you're Nez Perce, Yakima, whether you're from other backgrounds, races, you heard the expression from the brother earlier, the sister. All of us come from, I don't really like the word tribal, but that's the way it was expressed. I think we come from an origin of a more right and respectful relationship with our environment and collective awareness and our reality as it should be. And the spirit of that relationship should have a foundation of reciprocal relations. If you're looking for the English word that we can utilize in today's time, it's that word reciprocity. And the spirit of reciprocal relations with all things that we understand that we are related to. And if you continue to go down the path of asking yourself who you are and where you come from, where you wish to go, what is, what isn't, and why, you are going to come to understand that you are related to everything, including the loved one, the beautiful relative that we are celebrating today. It's these things in today's time that the native people of this land that have the ceremonies, the expression and the utilization of speaking their language, the relationship with their foods, the ceremonies that come out in the practice of those things, they're not things that were just made up throughout time. Much as all the other faiths, religions, and followings of this world, divine instruction came to our collective peoples. And that divine instruction is as beautiful, as powerful as anything else with regard to the followings and our faiths, our religions of this world. And if we are to look at anything to try to reference what that relationship was in 1491, what did that look like? The totality of the expression of the people who were of this land. The right and reciprocal relations, right and respectful relations that manifested at that time. Because that's the point in time that we can look at and utilize as a point of reference to say, how were relationships defined at that time period? And what were the outcomes of that time period versus the day that we live in today? Welcome to another moment in time of the 500-year war of right and respectful relations. This is what I bear witness to today. What was, what could have been, and what will never be. Once again, I'm here just to ask questions and never give you any answers. But I do have another collective question, is where are we going? And what does the future hold for all of us? More importantly, what does it hold for the children who are here today? And what's it going to hold for their children and their grandchildren and the generations that will come behind them? Because if we are looking to celebrate a life today of Tokatai, a beautiful relative, I heard that expression earlier from the chairman. We don't want your sympathy. We seek to be understood, and we We want a reciprocal relationship to receive empathy and understanding of one another. And as you heard the expression from our elder and how that message had come to them to begin that effort, I think the spirit of Tokatai, wishing to be understood, wishing to be understood. And I think that's what most of us want. We want to be understood. And as I try to understand that physical absence of her life, and as I try to justify and interpret why, when death happens, this is the biggest question, why? And it's the question that you'll never receive an answer to. But it's something that each of us can individually interpret as best as we can. And I'd like to interpret it as Tokatai was interacting with the spirit Nami Anafla Tumanmafla. And the question came as to what the future will hold. Perhaps she had posed the question, will my life or my death serve that better, stronger? Will my life or my death help create a better future for all? Perhaps it was her death that was going to find the motivation for us as individuals and as we work together collectively to seek a better future that you've heard about today. That's what I've witnessed today. Everybody wants something better for the future. But we all have a collective problem. No matter what race and what background and where you came from, we all have a collective problem. See, we have a narcissistic uncle and a narcissistic grandmother. His name is Uncle Sam. His grandmother's name is Manifest Destiny. You look at the reality of their identity. Who are they? And where do they come from? Where do they wish to go? How do they define what is? How do they define what isn't? And why? See, Uncle Sam and his mother, Manifest Destiny, they don't have an identity. They like to make us all think that they have an identity. That this is the land of the free and the home of the brave and justice and equality for all. But when you begin to really look at Uncle Sam, Manifest Destiny, and you go to the origin of their existence, and you look at the reasoning and the understanding of the thought process, it is based upon deception, outright lies. Lies. And anyone who wants to debate that, we can talk later. Here's the thing about having an identity that's based upon lies. If you have an identity that's based upon lies, you have this big hole where your heart is supposed to be. Because you have no identity, you have no purpose and understanding. You don't have a way to understand the question of who you are. You don't have a way to navigate the question of where you came from. And without those things, you sure as heck ain't going to understand where you wish to go. And because Uncle Sam and Manifest Destiny do not have an identity, their identity is consumption. Consumption. They are here to harvest the world and everything in it. They have to harvest this world and everything in it to attempt to fill that hole that will never be filled. Never. Because it was based upon a lie at the beginning. One of the things I'm known for in my life, and some time that I served as an elected official at Yakima Nation, I served as their chair for a few years. From that work, I oftentimes will get volunteered for other things. But I looked hard as a Yakima Nation chairman at what is and what isn't and why. I looked hard at it, and I still do today. Everything has an identity. Everything. Lummi Nation has an identity. A spiritual one, and unfortunately a political one and a legal one. Just as the United States does. Just as the Port Authority does. Just as this island does. When we're dealing with the practical things in this world to navigate and advocate for right and respectful relations, the same narcissistic principles and schizophrenic and delusional principles are embedded into the dispute resolution process. That if we wish to advocate for something better in the realm or spirit of right and respectful relations, there is not an avenue that represents land of the free, home of the brave, justice and equality for all. That does not exist. Sometimes battles are won because of the resiliency and the beauty of those who are taking part. But what we are looking for, I think, is something better. This is what I've beared witness to today. Something wishes to come into the future. How are we going to do that? As individuals, we have to understand who we are and where we come from, so that we can better understand and interrelate with each other and collectively discuss where we wish to go and redefine what is and what isn't when it comes to the celebration of life of those that we hold in high regard. Her passing represents a passing of the people of this land. And so I just want to express that I'm honored and grateful to be able to bear witness, to share some words as best as I can. Because it's tough. It's tough when you talk about it at face value. But when you begin to really dig deep into the work, when you begin to roll up your sleeves, when you begin to say, this is what I wish to do about it. This is the way that I wish to contribute to the 500-year war of right and respectful relations. It can become quite overwhelming. And it's days like this, in celebration, that we find our renewal. And I'm honored to celebrate her life with each of you and find my own individual renewal. Why we sin we not?
Let's see out, yeah. Dunya Maniwa, Kita Watis, Salish Sea. Edom Wakwani, you don't the tip wheel. Walk by it and touch them in the people. Edom Tota, Pio Kuts. Edom Itzala, like in yacht. My name is Shannon Wheeler. I'm the chairman for the Nez Perce tribe. More importantly, I'm just a human being. I'm just like you. I'm just here to share with one another. And what I've heard today, my first time here, San Juan Island, and I was asked to be a witness. What I heard was several things about what was being expressed. I heard care. I heard share. I heard understand. I heard respect. I heard love. I heard respond. I heard act. Those are the things that I heard today as I bear witness to this beautiful celebration of life, this beautiful carving here that the Creator has placed upon a carver's hands and in his mind to be able to do things like this. As we speak of Tamal with the land that was, the law that was written upon this land before us, those are the things that come to you in special places with one another. Those are the things that we care for. Those are the things that we share. These are the things that we love one another, with one another. How do we change things? How am I supposed to, how do I act to change, to make change? You make change by responding, by gathering, by understanding. That's what I'm hearing today. And I want to share a couple of things with you about understanding of what I've witnessed too, not only from the speakers, but from you, your reactions. I heard and I seen. I heard and I seen. Hurt. When we listen to those last sounds, was that a song? Was those words? Was that a prayer? Whatever it was beautiful. Because in our belief, and whatever your belief is, but our belief here in our people is that when we gather for a purpose. When we gather for celebrations of life, to bear witness, to share our love for someone that has passed on. We know on the other side, the people are gathering in the same way. We know the relatives of our brother and sister orcas are still there. We know they're gathering there now in celebration of life, awaiting Tok'tai to come back into that spirit world, that life, that forever lasting life that is all around us. We're left here. We are left here to see the things that are happening, to wonder why, the question that was posed. Why? Why did this have to happen? Why did I get taken? Why did I get shipped and kept in captivity? Why? And when the songs were sung at the side of a pool in captivity, a breath of life was breathed back in to carry on. And that's heartfelt. That's heartfelt. It's really hard for me to speak about this year. Our family, we lost our Itzala, our mother, our matriarch. And it's really hard for me to share these emotions, these feelings with you. But I see, but I've witnessed that feeling, that hurt of, we were so close. But we're fortunate. I believe this is the last one in captivity. Understanding that whatever we did in the past was wrong. Whatever we do now is for the future. We're here. We're here to work for the future, for the children, for it's them that have to live through this. Some of us that are older, we may have 10 years, we may have 20 years. We never know how much time we have. But for those youthful young ones, those yet to come, they have a lifetime to live yet. And they have to live through this. They have to live. And it's said, youth tend to outrun their mistakes. But can they outrun our mistakes? For not changing? For not changing the mistakes that our grandfathers and the people that were here before us, making decisions during the Industrial Revolution, building these luxury things that we have today, can they outrun their mistakes? That's why we gather information. That's why we put things together. That's why we respond. That's why we act. By coming together today, that's a form of an action to bring your hearts together, to bring your minds together, and to do something. Even if it's the smallest thing. I live in the mountains. Many times I think that a raindrop that hits right behind a rock loosens it just enough to turn it, to tumble it. Knocks over a tree. Those nutrients then fall into the ground and then roll to the water, roll to the river, stream, the river. Then it's supposed to be in the ocean. Many times that's changed now, as we see the Snake River dams. But I'm here more today about life. Life is always more important than money. When you get down to it, when you come into this world, that's what you have. When you leave this world, that's what you have. We all sit here today and we share the air. We share this air. I was thinking about something as I witnessed all of you out here today. I said, I wonder if everyone would close their eyes and imagine. I wonder if I should ask that of you. And I said, yes, I'm going to do it. So I'd like you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine before Natita went, before the human beings, you're the orca, you're the robin, you're the salmon, you're the elk, you're the moose, you're the frog. And you're witnessing a gathering of you, of the people that were here before us, the animal people, and wondering all that we're going to give. I wonder if they'll respect it. I wonder if they'll take care of us. And you think about it from that perspective, from those that were here before us, what they see today. And that's what's truly difficult, is because they gave themselves to us. They continue to give what they can. And that's, for me, a true understanding of this law that was written upon this land before us. To model it. Viewing it from someone else's eyes. Doesn't always have to be a human being. It can be those that are calling out. Those that are witnessing us today. So please, in your lifetime, think about those things. Caring, sharing, understanding, love, respect, gather, respond, and act. That's what will make a difference. That's why we're here today. To do those things as we bear witness to the words of today. Sk'aliCh'elh'tenaut.
Haishka to the witnesses, thank you. That's the shortest speech I've ever heard Jode speak. No, sorry, we need some humor. And I'm sure you'll hear a lot of laughter and joking when we share a meal. This is kind of who we are. And I want to, it's on my heart, I have to acknowledge Raynell and Ellie, Tomas, for their work. I think Ellie's fishing. I know she's fishing. And the pain of feeling alone and the struggle and but keeping it up and fighting the good fight and answering that call. I just want to acknowledge them right now and thank them for their efforts and love, their love. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to eat now, and we're right on schedule. Sorry if you're roasting and need drinks, but it's been an honor to be a part of this. It's been an honor to be a witness here, and it's been an honor to acknowledge and lift the names up and acknowledge her, Sk'aliCh'lh'tenaut, to acknowledge for me, Bill James, and many others who have led the way and showed us the way, and just to be here today. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's eat.